Still I'm endangered. At 7, my actions can be categorized a clear and present danger. Miseducate me at school, confused thirst for irate behavior, aka anger, to my community stranger. See, kids often don't exist today. I search for that quiet place to play. To my dismay, it's dark. My innocence brings light. Will I survive the system, its isms, the danger of being of existence as I walk being me? Tired of seeing the yellow tape on my street. I hope Trump gets beat, but dreams often flee. Witnessed more by 7 than senior citizens should ever live to see. Young, black, and gifted, but labeled ADHD. Pipeline to prison I see. Their poison or our own may be the end of me.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Oh, 911!
911, what's your emergency?
Adam 2, Roger 20.
Adam 2, 1019.
Suspect is armed.
Car 15 responding.
2 shootings in one city neighborhood this week. Boston Mayor Marty Walsh with a message for the gunman.
There's responsibility on behalf of some of these folks that are doing the violent acts, that you're traumatizing your neighborhoods, you're traumatizing kids.
When we look at the violence that is plaguing communities of color, that's a symptom. The root cause is poverty.
I'm a black woman living in Roxbury, and I don't have the privilege of, ignoring this problem. For many years, I feel like that they've ignored the problem, and ignoring the problem has never made it go away. And so I think it's an obligation morally, but more so as a community member, to stand up and resist it. It's not okay. I understand that you guys are traumatized and you still get up and go to school every day in spite of. But I want you to know that I see you. Because oftentimes when it's white affluent communities, they get all this recognition and they get all this press. And you guys have been screaming to the top of your lungs for a really long time and getting ignored. And I want you to know that not only do I see you, but we're about to allow them to see you too.
Been this since he was 2, so the last few letters been focused on I'll be home in a few. What would you do if you in their shoes? It's all about survival. It's deep when the killer's your role model.
I have publicly submitted the demands that we placed on Mayor Walsh. He will receive them via email as well as hard copy. And then we give him until Monday, the Monday after Thanksgiving, to give us a formal response. And I want to go on record saying that, right? Because just as fast as they throw up buildings, just as fast as they're making decisions to close your schools, we want that same expediency with your lives and your education.
And this is realness, I'm telling you. If there's one thing left to say, it's God save America, America, America. And this is realness, I'm telling you. If there's one thing left to say, it's God save America, America.
Bottom corner's a little more on the 2 cuts.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
That one you're at now, the one going down, and the other one's on the bottom.
Okay.
This is the part I have to say out loud. As a black woman, we're conditioned to lowball ourselves. We are conditioned to not ask for the things that we want and settle. And more specifically myself, I grew up in a household where, because I was the oldest, I always settled in exchange for my little brother and sister to be able to have the things that they need. So I went into this meeting with the mindset of, oh my God, all the things on this list is too much. I'm just gonna ask for a couple of things, and if he do those, I'll still be straight. But then I heard this voice that was like, yo, the only thing he can tell you is no. You never get an opportunity to sit in front of someone like the mayor and not ask for certain things. And so I ran through the whole list. He did not tell me no to anything. So just to give you guys a quick view of I asked for help with the renovations because we need vinyl siding, we need sheetrock on the inside, and for the bathrooms to be done over. I asked for us to set a date in stone for the ribbon cutting because when you have something you're working towards, you make sure it's done by that date. I asked for industrial freezer for our food pantry because that's part of what you need to have an account with the Greater Boston Food Bank. I asked for funding to assist us with signage for the outside of the building, and I asked for assistance with funding for our operational budget. Everything he told me yes is just the path to getting to those things and the people who I should talk to, and he was great with giving us resources in that aspect. So I'm not going to get into detail because y'all already know, but the renovations will be taken care of. The date of the ribbon cutting is April 3rd at 10 a.m. and we set that date because that whole week he's free, and so from 10 to 1 is the ribbon cutting, and then whatever we choose to do after that.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, white supremacy has got to go.
As many as 40,000 people turned out Saturday, showing opposition to the expected message of the rally in a march against white supremacy. At the beginning of the march in Roxbury, organizers spoke out against the agendas of neo-Nazis and white supremacists, but also the mixed response to them from President Trump.
First, I want to say thank you to everybody who came out today. This is amazing. This started with me going live on Facebook out of anger and frustration. And the next thing you know, in 6 hours, we had 2,000 people. And in 24 hours, we had 10,000. So give yourself a round of applause. So for those who don't know me, my name is Monica Canon. I am the founder of Violence in Boston. Monica Cannon Grant just got married July 8th. Founder of Violence in Boston. I ran for state representative for Roxbury, where y'all are standing last year. And I'm a black woman, first and foremost. A black woman who is a mom of 5 children, 3 biological, 2 that God blessed me with. Living in Roxbury, standing in Roxbury, holding Roxbury on my back. Listen, we're not standing for it. I said it on the news. I meant what I said, and I say what I mean. We're not standing against white supremacy. We're not going to have it in our city. Not in Boston. Not in Roxbury. We're not having it. And we want to send a clear message that you don't get to come in the city of Boston with your hatred. That's not what we stand for. That's not what we're made from.
There was a shooting on a street called Fenno Street. And as a city councilor from that area, one of the things I prided myself in doing is I actively went to active crime scenes because I never wanted it to feel natural or normal that in our neighborhood, in our community, that people were getting shot. So I pulled up to Fenno Street, and this woman I don't know if she had on curlers, but she definitely had her hair wrap on, started yelling at me. Oh, Mr. City Councilor, it's very nice to see you. It is very nice to meet you now that some people are getting shot in our neighborhood. Thank you very much, Mr. City Councilor, for showing up. I was like, okay. So this is not quite what I expected. And I stayed for the whole time until they found the suspect. And sadly, I want to say this probably happened 2 or 3 times.
Another black person was killed last night. The shit's ridiculous. I'm also tired of saying it though, but I also one of the things that we don't do every time this shit happens is talk about what people are doing to try to mitigate it. So there are people like Jordana, Stanley Green, Adrian Major, Dan McKenzie. There are a lot of us out here that are trying to mitigate this stuff. So this whole mantra that nothing's happening is bullshit. And at the same time we're trying to do this work, we're also sitting down having conversations with the city of Boston around funding, around putting together a plan and execution. If you knew how many group chats, emails, and conversations are in the works and that we're working on to actually build something sustainable around violence prevention, it's mind-boggling. I know a lot of us are exhausted because we're in like 4 or 5 different spaces trying to come up with solutions. And more so, we're not even asking the city, we're proposing to them the plan, and we're just telling them we need the money. One of the things that I learned about this community is that they critique you and then they copy and do exactly what the fuck you did and then want to feel good about it. That part I don't give a shit about. But let me say something to you. If you know me, you know accountability has no fucking color, right? Which means me and Marty can beef till the day is long. But I know he's going to answer my call. And he knows I'm going to answer his call. Because one thing I will say is that when it comes to this community, I said to him, I'm always going to answer my phone, even if I fucking disagree with you. Even if I want to cuss you the fuck out, I'm going to answer my phone and I'm going to cuss you the fuck out. I don't bite my tongue. I don't mince words. I don't need to divulge every conversation that I have. But we're honest and transparent with each other. And that's what I ask for. If you're going to engage me, let's be honest and transparent.
Monica was, in this case, one of the times her son was almost a victim. And so we just had a very real conversation after that I wanted to do something. And I didn't know what to do, but I wanted to do something. And so I ended up borrowing from a friend of mine in Baltimore. His name is Nick Mosby. He's the he was the District 7 city councilor down there. And we actually began to do violence prevention marches. And in fact, ironically, his wife, Marilyn Mosby, who is now the Baltimore County DA, was there for, I think, the 3rd march that we did. And she kicked it off with us. And we walked around the neighborhood screaming and chanting, but engaging people in that neighborhood and community. So that was my, the series of meeting Monica. I think a lot of people were like, oh, just Monica's your friend. No, that was an earned friendship because the great part about Monica is that she demands accountability from leadership structures. And if there's not real, genuine accountability, she calls it out.
Gun violence isn't new to communities of color who are plagued with gun violence on a regular basis. There were 54 fatal shootings in the city of Boston in 2018, concentrated in Dorchester, Roxbury, and Mattapan. If you're asking what can you do, hold your city officials accountable, join Violence in Boston. Gun violence prevention through legislation is addressing a critical piece in this fight. But it's not the only piece, right? Because oftentimes we hear legislation. The other part is this. Legislation does nothing for communities of color because all of our guns are illegal, right? So that's just one piece. The other piece is making your voice heard. Take action. Call your state and city representatives and ask them to look into evidence-based solutions to stem the flow of illegal guns within our state from other states around us. All gun violence is unacceptable. That means in Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan, Hyde Park, Alston, Brighton, all of it is unacceptable. But the tragedy of everyday gun violence that affects urban communities of color often goes unnoticed by the public at large. We need to change that narrative.
My name is Kiora Hilton, and I've been in Boston since I was 13. I'm 47, so it's been a long time. When I first came here, I went to the Charles Taylor, right there off of Morton Street. Worst experience of my life. because I grew up in Cleveland, and in my neighborhood, I was the only light-skinned person, but I never realized that because it was like we were a community. It wasn't until I came here that I had my first fight. You know, everything just spiraled. So from the beginning, it wasn't safe for me. And then as I became a teenager, I want to say at 16, I went to my first funeral. But back then it was more people getting stabbed. Used to go to Chevu's fights after skating, and through most of my life I've lost several people that I cared about here. So never really a good experience, except from coming from Cleveland where there's no skyscrapers. Coming here, just the city life is what excited me. When I used to come, I went to Cleveland every year. When I used to come back, I couldn't wait to see downtown. You know, so it was like the way Boston looks, the way it feels, but internally, always been painful. I had Raheem at 21.
21?
Yes, yeah.
And what was he like?
Oh, he was amazing. That was my first son, so I do work in a prison. I do restorative justice, and one thing that I accept responsibility for was allowing him to do things that weren't right, you know, because he was my first son, so when he used to swear, I thought it was cute, but I was still a child too, in a way, you know, so stuff he would do I thought was funny, you know, and then when he started becoming a man, it was like, wow, you know, maybe I shouldn't have did this or shouldn't have did that, because his father passed away when he was 2, so I never had anybody, you know, that was a male figure to discipline him or say what was right or wrong, you know. And my grandfather was totally strict. So everything that I was letting him do, he would have been against, you know. So, but he was amazing. He always cracked jokes, always smiling. And he was just amazing.
This is what we got to go through in our community every day.
Monica Craig called on the mayor to help.
Mayor, help us out, Mayor. Mayor, help us out. We crying.
Nobody should feel that trauma in communities. Nobody's child should have to witness any type of violent act shootings.
Since the first of the year, there have been 5 shootings in the city, 2 of them deadly. A slight uptick over the same time period last year when there were 2 non-fatal shootings.
Our job is to get guns off the street, and in 5 years we've taken over 4,000 guns off the street, but clearly there's more work to be done.
Please don't shoot. I'm unarmed. I'm not here to cause you harm. Why are you so terrified? Look me in my eyes. Why are you so terrified?
He got shot on July 2nd, 2015. And he one gunshot to the stomach, and he bled internally and he passed away. Yeah. I met Monica after Raheem passed, and meeting her had allowed me to meet other people that knew him, like people that worked in DYS and different people from different organizations, like, oh my God, I knew Raheem, you know, so she's connected with everybody. And the one thing I like about her is that she says things that people are scared to say. And she can say it because she lives in the hood, you know? And it's like, the things that she thinks about, like, for me, I didn't wash clothes for 2 months. Like, I had piles of clothes, dishes, and when he first passed, people were bringing food. But after the funeral, nobody comes, you know? And it's like, then you're sitting there with all your pain, dirty clothes, no food, you don't feel like doing anything, and who thinks about you at that moment? She knows what people need, even though she hasn't lost a child, but she's been through enough families to know exactly what somebody needs in that time.
My eyes. You don't know me, only how television shows me. Ignorance is addictive and eventually you'll OD. So why is it only me after that's the cadaver while the news station?
this got to get page 2, right? We should do like 25.
So the poster right there of the march that I did in 2017, E-Rock Arroyo, shout out to him, pointed out to me that the same route I took in 2007 from Roxbury to the Boston Commons to march, that Martin Luther King took that same route from Roxbury to the Boston Commons to march when he was here in Boston. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, yo, that's wild. And he had put up the picture and I put the side by side and you seen them marching. And I think he was locked arms or he had people standing with him as he walked. And then it was the picture right there of me and Clark leading the march in 2017. And it's just wild, like the similarities with Martin and the similarities with Malcolm X.
This is what you're supposed to be doing, though.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I just don't want to suffer the same demise that they did.
Our generation will carry with us the weight and burden of countless lives lost, and we will take it upon ourselves to ensure that on their behalf, that we are the last ones in this environment of daily shootings. We will tell them that we are here, we are angry, and we are strong. I remember needing to tell my family that I was alive and barely being able to send the text because I was in real danger. And they couldn't stop it or help me.
I'm here today to tell you silence is violence. I stand before you as I mentioned, the lead organizer for Fight Supremacy. But more importantly, as a mother of 5 teenagers here in the city of Boston, and I live in Roxbury. I'm an activist, and every day I fight to protect Black and brown students against gun violence. As a mom, I've had the horrible opportunity to be standing next to my son as someone tried to kill him on 2 separate occasions. And had the gun not jammed, we will be having a different conversation today. I also had the undesirable pleasure of my house being a crime scene. If it were not for the fact that I fought like hell, this would be a conversation similar to so many moms and dads who have lost their children. There are mothers, fathers, grandmothers from communities of color who were not as fortunate as myself. And I want to be very clear, when we have this conversation, we stand in solidarity with Parkland. We stand in solidarity for all the communities, but more specifically, I'm a Black woman before I'm anything. And so I stand for communities of color.
Hi, I'm Cam Goggins. I'm the executive director and co-founder of Live Boston 617, which is a social media group that we use for showcasing first responders and major incidents in the city of Boston. I think it's important for communities to be aware of what goes on around them. I think it's important with kind of our dual purpose of we want to showcase the first responders, but we also want to inform the public of what's going on and what they're doing on a daily basis in terms of fires, acts of violence, major incidents. And I think it's important for communities to become more aware of it, where a lot of times if, say, you live in Chinatown or the North End, you really don't hear about what happens in Mattapan or Dorchester. And I think that it's really important for the public to understand what other communities in the city that we all live in go through and experience. And I think it's important for us to realize what first responders deal with on a daily basis, as well as those communities that we're really not in touch with. So I think it's a multifaceted approach that we take in terms of showcasing, the paramedics and the firefighters and the police officers that deal with tragedy and deal with incidents on a daily basis, but also the communities as well, and making sure that everyone can be aware of those incidents. That's one of the most difficult things kind of on our side of operations is what do we show and what don't we show. And our real bottom line is if we see it, the public should see it. We don't really have access to things that the public doesn't have access to. Anybody can walk up to a crime scene, anybody can walk down a street, anybody can see those things. And I think that when you start censoring the imagery and start censoring the information is when you run into a lot of issues in terms of where does that line stop. You know, if we don't pull our punches, whether it makes the police look good or makes the police look bad, whether it makes a community look good, whether it makes a community look bad, our entire approach is unbiased, apolitical, uncensored honesty.
Good morning, sis. I've come to the conclusion that it's not meant for me to work for anybody, right? And it's a struggle to have to admit that. And what I mean is that when you apply for employment and they ghost you and they don't say shit else to you out of fear. So like, oh my God, because of what she stands for, we're not going to return her call and we can't talk to her because our whole organization is white and she may call it out. It's bananas, right? But at the same time, oh my God, can you come speak? Or, oh, we love the work that you do. We're very familiar with you. And they love to name drop my ass. I'm so tired of people name dropping me and telling other clear folks that they know me, when in all actuality, like, you've shitted on me and you're trash. And that's real, right? I've literally sat in spaces and listened to people name drop me 10, 11 times. And it's like, that would be great if you actually answered my calls when I call you. Like, it's mind-boggling. Like, black women get shitted on a regular basis.
Listen, last 24 hours, family that had a window shot out, they helped families, a family that dealt with a fire, and an old mother that was 90, lost her grown son. They've been to a police station. Listen, they saw the sun come up. Then they got back out. They've been giving waters out all through the hood, elderly people, old people. So I'm filming this to appreciate them.
The last thing I want to talk to you about before we get to our next location is trauma. Everybody has the violence prevention conversation around AR-15s, Parkland, Sandy Hook. But for black and brown communities, we're oftentimes dodging bullets on a regular basis. We know that when one person is shot, up to 90 people are affected. So can you speak to your views and your stance? And then the other piece is funding. Everyone loves to come talk to us about violence prevention, and everyone loves to come hear the black story. But we're the last to get funding when it comes to doing this work on the ground. And a lot of activists are doing this work from a place of poverty. Because I'm a little perturbed, and I'm going to explain to y'all why I'm perturbed. I did a live video earlier of me having a conversation with Joe Kennedy. Now, let me explain something to you. I function from a place of accountability. I do that shit with every fucking politician. The black ones, the white ones, the orange ones, the gray ones. I don't give a shit. I function from a place of accountability. One of the things that I often hear people say is these motherfuckers stay asking for our vote, inviting us to the meeting, but they never come and talk to us. They never come to our community and have a conversation with us. I just deleted and blocked 2 people. One, I could care less about, I don't know. But the other one, I love her. I'm just pissed at the shit she just fucking pulled on my social media page. I'm not going to name drop because I love her. But my frustration is this. When I posted that video of Joe Kennedy, the video said climate and trauma. Those are the 2 subjects that we were focusing on. Is Monica forgetting about violence prevention? Is she forgetting about mass incarceration? Is she forgetting about cannabis? Is she forgetting about... No. How the fuck can I you know, the black woman living in Roxbury. Forget about any of those things. I'm not forgetting about those things, but today's focus is climate and trauma. That's what we were going to go talk about, right? So that's like if you go to history class and you start asking them algebra. That's not what y'all are learning today. If you sit in your ass in history class, y'all need to talk about how Christopher Columbus came over here, stole, raped, and killed motherfuckers. Because that's history.
Yeah, there was a terrible shooting last night. I don't have the full details on it. The commissioner called me last night and again this morning. You know, it seemed like he might have been targeted, the gentleman. I don't know enough about the details.
But what does this say overall, the trend, just since you've been elected?
You know, I think that the fact that a lot of these murders that are happening are in neighborhoods that they appear to be gang related, and not that that's light, taking that away, anything like that. You know, we have to, you know, do better outreach to these young people and tell them that, you know, when you pull a gun out and shoot somebody, there's consequences, and you know, I think that we have to start to look at that tactic.
Good morning, y'all. It's been a long 24 hours. But like, I ain't really got no sleep, so I'm up. Yesterday, good morning, L. I knew you would be up. We had an amazing event at the Black Women's Conference on Saturday, and yesterday we did Applebee's with half of our crew, and then we decided to cook out yesterday even with the other half. And it was an impromptu cookout. Good morning. Oh, good morning, Rick. Good morning, Leonie. What's up, Calvin? Hey, what's up, Nessa? We did an impromptu cookout yesterday, because you know that's what black folks do. And Elle and Matt came over, and we were having a good time, and it was family. It just felt good. And we were cooking on the grill, we were playing spades, and one of my neighbors pulled up, chilled, had a good time. Car was parked in the parking lot, but everybody was chilling. Like, I just felt like we was good. Couple of events had transpired. Like, a couple dudes came up on the street, and you know how when you live in a place for a really long time, you know when somebody look like they don't belong on your street. And so my instincts, you know, you don't do this work and not have instincts. You don't do this work and not be aware of your surroundings. Hi, Auntie Vicky. But like I said to them, because I didn't want to scare them, like, hey guys, something don't feel right. We need to go in the house. Like, I'm paying attention to everything that's transpiring. Something don't feel right. So we began to bring our stuff in the house. Martin had CJ in his hands, and where he was sitting, his back was to my street, well, my parking lot, because it's a dead end. So Martin goes in the house first, but when he goes in the house, he goes upstairs, and I thank God that he did that, because he had my baby. But he couldn't have got to the kitchen. 3 minutes is what saved us. 3 minutes. You hear, mind you, Clark and my son is still outside. You hear, pop, pop, but it was so loud. I'm still standing outside. I see where it's coming from. I run. We all run. But Clark and my son is still outside. Elle's on the floor. Matt's on the floor. The kids is on the floor. It's like the person is standing on my doorstep. That's how loud it was. And this is how fucked up this work is, where you hear bullets, and instead of running from them, you're running towards them. Because I got to figure out where my kid is and where my husband is. So then Clark is low and eases into the door. And I say to him, where's my son? And it seemed like forever, but it probably was like 7 minutes. It probably wasn't even that long. I'm like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? We can't see, because he's probably hiding in between the cars and getting low. And I don't want to yell to him because I don't know if they have stopped shooting. So even though we're supposed to be, everybody else is laying on the floor, I go back outside. And L's yelling at me, don't do that because we don't know where they are or if they done shooting. But I had to find my fucking kid, yo. And I figure out that he's at my neighbor's house, and I'm like, are you hit? Are you hit? And he's patting himself down. I'm like, yo, are you hit? Are you hit? I just keep screaming, are you hit? Because I know what it looks like to do the other side and make sure he gets to the hospital on time. At this time, Lisa texts me. Brother D calls me. Tito calls me. I can't even put into words what's happening. I'm like, just come to me, come to me, come to me. I'm not okay. Yellow, of course, police everywhere. Like 30 fucking cars. They start yellow taping off. Bullets at my neighbor's car. Bullets went through my other neighbor's door, hit the refrigerator. Like, so I yell, and he yells back, and he's like, I'm good, I'm good. I tell him, go in my neighbor's house and don't come back outside, because I don't know who's where and where they at. I don't know where they at, where they going. I'm like, go in and close the door. Go in and close the door. Don't come back outside. Don't come back outside. So then my hard-headed ass goes outside. I'm trying to figure out if anybody else is hit, right? I'm still trying to help in the midst of being fucked up. Fucking L's still laying on the floor, and I don't even blame her. So many things, like fear, angry. I'm mad at the disrespect. I'm mad that it even fucking happened. But like, embarrassed. I had guests at my house that now have the fucking black experience. I say this shit every day and people be like, oh, she's bullshitting. But like, you gotta, like, I'm confused as hell playing both sides. Like, doing trauma response in the midst of my own fucking trauma. Like, this shit is just not normal. Like, my son is not even one and he knows what bullets sound like. And the moment I say to people, I'm tired of thoughts and prayers, they say it's insensitive. I don't know if y'all understand, like, that's the kind of shit where people be like, they never come into your fucking house again. And you can't blame them, because you can't feel like you want them to be a part of your fucking trauma. Like, that's fucking toxic. Y'all, I ain't get no fucking sleep. I've been up since around 7:45 just laying. I love you too, L. But just laying and looking at CJ and thanking God that I didn't have to be at BMC last night, because that's everybody else who I helped's reality. I mean, the fact that my son don't have 3 bullet holes in him is amazing. The fact that Clark don't have 4 bullet holes in him is amazing. I'm gonna be honest with you. I really thought that I was going to have to go to BMC last night.
So growing up, my mom always been on my back about school, staying on track, having good grades, making sure I'm getting things done. She was always, I wouldn't say hard or strict. We could always come to understanding about things, but one thing is that she always wanted me to make sure I finish school, have good grades, make sure my chores are done around the house, you know, the basic simple stuff, and basically staying out of trouble. Staying out of a lot of trouble, because growing up, basically just lived around trouble. So she just tried to keep me on track, make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I came off work. I came into my neighborhood, said what's up to a few dudes, and somebody who I just heard something, like somebody say, where you from or something, but they upped the gun, and I turned around and I saw it, and I just was gone. It just got off of work, so it was just up in my face. Like, it didn't even go off. It was just up in my face. And they ran away, like no shots was fired, but it's just like, I don't actually know what happened, but somebody points a gun at you, I mean, regardless if you know if it's loaded or not. Like, again, I'm proud of my mom, I'm proud of the work she does. She always my best supporter, #1 supporter. And basically, the violence that's happened, we just need to find more things for kids to do to stay active, stay out the streets, jobs. There's a lot of stuff we can add in the communities to help a lot of kids stay out the streets, because there really isn't too much out here in Boston for a lot of youth to do. But if people come together, we can create more ideas, and just basically the main point is to come together.
Quote unquote leaders that have come after are facsimiles. You understand? They're nothing but gatekeepers, which is why you'll have a congressman and or a king representative from their family that will sit in that seat for year after year after year after year after year. They don't want no new blood to come in. The Democratic Party, Republican Party, they'll keep their gatekeepers in position because they're not leaders. They're gatekeepers. Let's keep the leaders away. You dig? And the leaders are scared to push the gatekeeper out the way and become the leader. Why? Because every leader's been assassinated. If they haven't been assassinated literally with death, they've been assassinated by character. If they haven't been assassinated by character, they've been assassinated financially. Marcus Garvey led the largest, greatest, most successful Pan-African movement in history. You dig? But his legacy went down to, oh, he was a crook, he was bamboozling people's money and what happened to his ship, so on and so forth. You dig what I'm saying? So check this out. And I can't say forgive me for saying it, because I just gotta say it. Yo, you ain't got the luxury of saying, yo, this shit ain't fair. It ain't made to be fair. Right. You ain't got the luxury of deciding, damn, am I gonna sit on the seat or get off the pot? Nah, homie, you already sat on it. It's a done deal. You can't get off because there's dynamite strapped to the seat, motherfucker, so you can't get up. Right. You're stuck in a leadership position. This is what you was born to do. So you also gotta be born to put on that Teflon Dawn skin, ask the Most High to give you strength and courage, and we fight. And you fight by being just who you are. You fight by doing the work. You let the work be your biggest weapon. You understand? You let that cat upstairs be your biggest guardian. And then you let the goon squad be goons. That's what we do. And like I told you earlier, and I'll say it in front of everybody in here, when you need your moment, you find your quiet spot, man, and fucking cry and cry and cry and let it out and cry and beg God for strength. Wipe your damn tears off. Blah, blah, blah. Put your motherfucking face mask on and go to war. That's it. Period. This shit ain't easy because everybody will be doing it. That's why they don't do it, because they're cowards. There's nothing wrong with having fear, but we face our fear. We get over our fear. And we be leaders.
We're talking to Monica Cannon Grant. What is the name of the violence prevention organization that you head up?
It's called Violence in Boston, Inc. It started off as a hashtag. And, you know, I started posting the violence that was happening on my regular social media page. Fox 25 picked up the story and did an expose with me and Commissioner Evans. And from there, we turned it into a nonprofit and just began advocating for communities and offering resources and trying to help where we can.
I come from a community in Roxbury in a neighborhood of Warren Gardens. And it was during a summer where they had shot up my neighborhood 15 times. And a lot of my son's friends were shot. More specifically, my doorstep was a crime scene. He was shot on my doorstep. And my son began to get older, and him and my other son, my adopted son, and I was like, man, what can I do? So I started doing block parties as a way to kind of bring the community together. And I remember doing the first block party off of my food stamps.
Really?
And, yeah. And so I was like, okay, but also realizing that community community members seen how hard it was to put it together, and people started bringing water and juice and stuff out of their house so that we could have a block party for the kids. And then Andrea Swain from the Roxbury Boys and Girls Club was my first donor with backpacks that had school supplies already in them. And Tito Jackson wrote me my first check. And I was excited. I thought I was rich. It was like $300, but that was a whole lot because I didn't have it. And so I was really excited. And since then, we now give away 1,000 backpacks for school supplies.
Wow.
And instead of just blocking off my street, I block off Walnut Ave.
Nice.
Yeah. So a lot of people support me just because I'm honest. I'm like, listen, I'm no different from you. I tell this joke. I'm on husband number 2. You show up to my block party that I've been doing for 10 years. You see my husband on the grill, the ex-husband's carrying book bags, and like the kids are all over the place. Like we look like the damn Brady Bunch, but it works, And so you get to a point where just certain things just have to not matter, right? And so, like, I had to stop beefing with him to realize that it was bigger than the both of us. Like, my number one focus is my children, and I can't be toxic. I can't be toxic, So, just trying to be better, but also, like, there's just so many people whose story is the same, and so I just try to tell what I went through and hope that somebody knows that they're not by themselves.
For sure.
Because I go through the same stuff everybody else go through. I'm not perfect. I'm on this journey now that Tina Sherry has me on, where I'm learning to protect my energy and not engage in things that I don't have to. Like, you don't have to show up for every fight, because I have this thing where I hate to be lied on. I go pulling receipts, so don't lie on me. Like, and I went through this thing, when you do this work, you have those who love you and those who hate you. And I went through this thing where people are like, oh, she's stealing money. And I posted every bank account I had. Wow. It's just like, don't you ever. I'm like, y'all are trying to clock what I'm doing. And you're monitoring, because the DA's office gave me a $6,000 grant. And I was like, y'all are monitoring $6,000. I spent $20,000 in the month of August. You don't get it. Off of grassroots fundraising, helping women, paying light bills, paying rent, paying for abortions, paying car insurance. I paid for 12 kids' college fees so they could start college. Off of grassroots fundraising, people were like giving me the money, and I went live on my Facebook, and I'm like, if you got a kid that need help with their college fees and that's the only thing holding them back, hit me up. And I was doing it online. Virginia State, like 3 HBCUs, Dean College here, just paying them. And this one young man, I still have the message, he inboxed me and he just kept thanking me. I had no idea that his grandfather had been murdered and wanted him to go to college, and the only thing holding him back was his fees. He's at Virginia State University right now. That's the stuff that makes me happy.
Experience I have with my mom. It's probably our first boy talk. It was funny because we wouldn't use the actual words like virginity and stuff. We would be like bust cards. So we would call it, if a girl lost it, they'd be like, oh, it's your M7. You lost your M7. And she was just telling us things that you shouldn't do and things that you should do, and to always be safe. And if we have friends that don't have parents that they could talk to my mom. So if something will happen with my friend, I'll be like, oh, you could talk to my mom if you need any help or anything. I go with my mom everywhere. I'm like her personal shadow. I go to all the events. I'm her security. I'm her backup. I'm her best friend. And I'm her child. When she first started, I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be good. She's helping people. People in the neighborhood are looking at her as a mother. I was like, okay, I could deal with this. Then when she did her first march, was the 45,000 people, and they went downtown, I believe. It was like death threats and people like parked at the bottom of our street, taking pictures of her plate. I felt scared. I felt like I don't want to leave the house. Like, if this is what it takes to help people, then I don't want to do it. When I started seeing the social media stuff like, she's a fraud and this, that, and the third, I'm like, huh? Like, I remember being with my mom helping make bags to put food in to give to kids when she did her Backpack 68 program. And we would just be sweating and working hard, trying to put the bags together for the block parties we were doing. Staying up all night. We was putting the supplies in the bags and preparing the food. And then the day of, my mom had no staff. Like, even all the people that said that they could help her, they didn't help her. So the days of the block party, we would wake up 7 o'clock in the morning, setting up, bringing all the cases of water and food out. even being the staff there because she had no staff. She had no team. It was just us.
We are down here at Villa Victoria, giving back. And this idea was the young men. The same young men that nobody wants to talk to. The same young men that get ignored and people don't think they need help. This is what we're doing. This is how I'm spending my Saturday. So I just wanted to go live real quick and show you guys what we're down here doing. This is the grill, smoking. And this is how I'll be spending my Saturday. This is the young people that I want to interact with, because this is how real change happens, when we show up for them. Thank you, Sean Brown. Who else? The 10,000 Fearless are gonna come down. And from what I hear, Mayor Walsh is coming down to show them support, because we have to encourage them when they're trying to do something different. And so I look really crazy because I'm standing in the middle by myself right now, but I don't care. And also for those who are like, who do you know down there? What is your connection? I don't need one. It's black and brown folks. We got to get past this shit. They start speaking to me in Spanish, I let them know I don't speak it, but they be trying to help me learn. And listen, I'm all for it. But I mean, we're not going to make it seem like that the violence plaguing our community is simply just a black children's issue. It's black, it's Latino, it's Cape Verdean, it's Haitian, it's Dominican, it's Jamaican, Trinidadian. It's a Boston issue, and we got to treat it as such, which means we got to go into every community and show these young people that we actually give a fuck about them. I function from a space of letting them speak for themselves. Quite often, we always want to tell the story about what's happening with young people, but nobody's talking to them. So I bring them with me. Like, I'll show up to any meeting, and I look like the lady with the thugs, but I just feel like they can tell you what they need, talk to them. Yeah. So, and then the other young man, Chris. So, just to give you a background, both of them, top level, street involved, heavy. Even the meeting we went to, the area where we was in, he's like, yo, I'm not supposed to be in this part, meet me outside. And people don't get a chance to see what it looks like for them just traveling on a daily basis. So we go to the meeting, but I know them from where I grew up in Franklin Hill, and I know how involved they both were. And they wanted to do a family day during the summertime to give back. And everybody was kind of weirded out, but you had like 75 gang members doing a community event where they gave out free haircuts. They gave out 150, 200 backpacks. They had all of the families from where we grew up in the projects out there. They free food, ice cream truck. Like, they had all of this stuff, and it was dudes who you would least suspect.
Right. I did all of this without even having a job, you know, because I felt like if I could do this or I can give back, I just felt like God would take care of the rest. And he did. It was almost like magic. It was a couple days prior to the event about to happen, and we didn't have a few things that we were supposed to. And I had a few more dollars left to get certain things, but I needed my few dollars to go towards other certain things, because we were told by certain individuals who worked for the city, we were told by other individuals who might have been family or friends that they were going to do X, Y, and Z, but they didn't. And, you know, that's okay, because sometimes we all fall short. There's been times I told people I was going to do something, and, excuse me, I fell short. So to those people who fell short, I love you. Thank you. You actually made me figure it out and become stronger in how I do this and look at things a little different. So thank you for that. But Monica had been calling for us, and I was so caught up in doing all the stuff that we were doing that I hadn't reached out. I don't know if I reached out to her more because I needed help or more because I needed guidance. A lot of times when I talk to her, she gives me guidance and pushes me in the right way. So, but this time I really needed help as well. So, when I called her, she started to ask me certain questions. And I was telling her, well, we need this, and what's the name was supposed to get this, and what's the name was supposed to get this. And she was like letting me talk, but it was like she kind of wasn't listening. She kept saying, so what was it that you needed? Well, we didn't get this, and we didn't get this, and then we was gonna get this with this. And she said, okay, well, I'll get that. I was quiet for a second, and I was like, well, let us try to see if we can get it a little bit more money. She's like, no, baby, I got that. And as it seemed to be like more stuff, she was like, I got that. She was like, I got that.
Lord Jesus, help me to help somebody else so that they can see in me the love of Christ. Now, I'm not for the organized religion. I believe in God, but like that just help me to help someone else so that they can see through me love. Like, I think that is powerful. It's something that I live by. I try to help as many people as I can.
If you walk away from a family that has like 10 advocates, you left them for dead narrative? Like, yo, it'd be wild. I really need to understand people's thought process, and this is where the mental health part comes in at. People's thought process of what actual tangible help is. Because what Monica's doing, there's motherfuckers who get a whole salary that ain't doing it.
And like yours doesn't end in a sense because people still have your phone number, still reach out to you. This is what it's.
So I help you, and 2 months later,
right?
Oh, I'm messed up again. Oh, I need somewhere to live again.
Right.
So then, what does that look like? Not for nothing. Once they know my phone number and address, that's it.
But the part of this work is continuous. It doesn't end ever. Like, the healing journey is a continuous journey for people to
And then the other piece is working with people who have documented mental health issues that are unaddressed and untreated creates a whole nother narrative, right?
Because it exacerbates everything else
right.
that's going on.
So the moment I tell you no, oh, she ended my life. No. I told you it was something I couldn't do. And that I was very clear that when I back away, I don't just leave somebody cold up and dry and walk away. I go, so we have now exceeded what I can provide and I'm stepping off. This is only what I can do. I can only do this. And I do that thing and I exit stage left. Because I also have a responsibility to protect my peace and mental health.
Absolutely.
And I think, like, everybody loves to have conversations around mental health. Let's dive deep into that. Because if you're not addressing your own, you can't talk to nobody about theirs.
Shots fired, waking me out of my sleep at night. The block illuminated by all of the flashing lights. And even the loud sounds of many sirens can drown away your mother's scream and cry, living out her worst nightmare. She gotta bury now her firstborn son. He was 19, running with the kids from the block. Caught his first case, 15, assaulting the cop. Bipolar, never took his meds, stayed with a blunt. He said the weed would always calm him down. He had a gift for drawing anything with a pencil. Freehand, no stencil. I remember a picture, spray painted in the park on the ground.
And I bet my cousin just got killed on Halloween. But he dropped so I know he went to that school. And she's like, oh my God, that's your cousin. I'm like, yeah. So of course the kids are gonna be angry. Like, whoever his friends were, young girls are upset. They don't have no outlet, no one to talk to about that because adults are also brushing off teens' anxiety, depression, and all this stuff. Like, we should be able to push through, and not giving them the
But that's the requirement. That's only the requirement for Black and brown kids. Phone off. Just me, the kids, and the husband.
You better not answer nobody's damn.
Anything that's a crisis is gonna have to wait. I'm gonna need you to be in an emergency when I get back, because I am going. We planned this family vacation and it's so needed.
Y'all need to unplug, get all that vitamin D, because we all been cooped up in houses.
Oh, I brought CJ outside yesterday.
He looked happy. He was.
It was like I let him out of a cage, poor baby. Aww. He's like sunshine. I know. He's in the wagon, and I'm pulling him, and he got his hands sticking out the side of the wagon like air.
Yeah, like
air, right.
Who are you meeting with?
Tina.
Tina, okay. And can I get your name?
Monica.
Monica, okay. Give me 1 second. You guys can have water or tea or anything. I'll grab Tina.
Right, I said to her, I was like, that's a first. Usually I just go to my room.
Did you meet? Where did she go, Charlita?
I think she went upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Charlita's our communications coordinator. Get your tea.
Okay.
Give me 2 minutes.
Yep.
You're home.
Okay.
All right, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm Chaplain Clementina Sherry. I'm the president and CEO of the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute. And the Institute serves as a center of healing, teaching, and learning for families and communities impacted by murder, trauma, grief, and loss. And we do this threefold: services and outreach, training and education, and advocacy and awareness.
So, right now, I'm picking pieces that, like, are kind of like calling out to me. And then we talk about what I believe they represent when we go play in the sand, which is an activity to kind of just decompress, and it's like creating your world. And she always invites me to explain my world. What does my world look like today? So that's what I'm doing. Takes me a couple minutes. It looks different every time too, by the way. Some days it's great, other days it's like, what the hell?
So let's talk about what's happening in this world today.
So faith is the thing I'm struggling with, but this brick.
I'm going to invite you to faith is the thing I'm struggling with.
And not but. So faith is the thing I'm struggling with. And I'm hopeful. So this brick kind of called out to me because it's like solid. And I see that as like your faith being solid. Mm-hmm. So I'm not there yet, but I strive to be there. Peace is what I've been feeling this week. Just with everything that has been happening, you know, good news, bad news. And like, it hasn't kind of taken me over like it has in the past weeks. So this week was a good week. Family, because I got a chance to talk to my mom and talk about some of my concerns. And I talked to my kids and my husband, and it just felt good to have those conversations. They were overdue. When I seen this, I'm gonna tell you what I thought. I thought that book was like my marching orders. Like, I have my marching orders, now I can go and jump in. That's what that felt like when I seen this piece. This is because I actually prayed. Even though you've been telling me to do it, I actually did it this time. Well, you didn't tell me, you invited me. I changed that, but yeah. And this one was, I'm still in the middle of this battle, but I'm gonna be okay. And then forgiveness was something I had to practice for a lot of things that I just wasn't, it's hard for me. But I had to forgive just feelings around my relationship with my grandmother. You know, like, she's sick and she's a senior now, but there's just a lot to that relationship. But I had to forgive because I had to forgive for me. And then this one is, I still am confused. I don't know what's going on. And every time I see this piece, I feel like that's how my face is 80% of the time, trying to figure it out, and just, I don't know what's going on, but I guess it's gonna work.
I've seen Monica throughout the years. I think when they were doing, her and another survivor, when a homicide would happen, they would do community, just be in the community where the homicide happens and give food or resources out. I've seen her just be Monica, be vocal, respond. And I've watched her, I've known her, and God said, you need to minister to her. And I'm like, oh, hell no, I'm not touching that. And, just being around her, and we reached out and connected, and, support what she does and believe in what she does. And this lives up to who we are, a center of healing, teaching, and learning for families and communities impacted by murder, trauma, grief, and loss. It's about you. And you will know when God says, here, call that one and apologize. You'll say, I'm not apologizing to nobody. Or call that one and offer your forgiveness. or send them a letter or a note. You will know.
Right.
Okay, so it's not about forcing, it's not about doing anything to please anybody. It's about you, and it's about you and God.
Right.
And then you can
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna take a picture.
Yes, where's your camera?
Right here. She's leaning hard.
Look at that. Yes, that's what I mean. Well, and I think that's what that powerful part is. She is resting on faith. Or leaving.
Yeah.
Got cops on the beat with some rocks in them souls, and them boys settle beef, burning heat like coals. If you 30 in the hood, they consider you old. This is everybody.
I like Mayor Walsh. He's my friend. And I believe it's a great partnership. I believe what he did and what he's doing and partnering is, again, here's a solution. And what Monica did is offer a partnership. Offer, how do we create the city that you want, the city that you are looking for, and how can you partner with Violence in Boston? Not to compete, yet to fulfill the purpose of our beloved city. And so, because he is my friend, I've known him when he was just a baby, I'm gonna say, and as a state legislator. It's, again, being able to provide solutions from a community-based perspective and not telling you what to do, but how can we partner? So it's the both and. It's a win-win for all of us. And so even if he decides to seek higher office, a lot of his investment in community will be forth. And it doesn't matter who comes in, but he is saying, I can't do this alone. I'm looking for community.
If somebody caused harm, where's the space for them to address that harm and take responsibility and then grow for it? Now, me personally, I own everything I've ever said. Like, anytime I dragged Mayor Walsh, I stood by it. Me and him actually had one-on-one conversations about it, phone and face-to-face. Anything I've ever said, I stand by it, because that's exactly how I feel as a Black mom raising 6 kids. 4 of them are young boys, and I live in Roxbury, and while I'm assisting other families, I'm still dodging bullets.
So tell me a little bit about what we're looking at, what this space looks like.
So this is just the front lobby space right here. We have a desk set up over there so that Microsoft donated 10 computers, so we'll have those set up over there. And we're building podcast and studio space and just desks that will go in the offices, and a bunch of work being done.
So what's going on?
Wherever I go, he follows, he follows. This far undressed goes, he follows, he follows. Hunting everyone, he follows, he follows.
Hey yo, fuck this black bitch.
Questionable fundraising tactics. Are you sure you're even supporting a legitimate organization?
This bitch is unlicensed in any field and has no skills to deliver services to anyone. Fucking fraud.
Too fucking ratchet. Thief. Monica has a low IQ. She's unemployable. A racist. Bitch. What the fuck is a social impact? Violence in Boston is a non-profit she uses to avoid getting a real job.
She's misinformed and not factual.
We see you, Monica, for exactly what and who you are.
She is equipped to do this work as long as she stays focused on what God has called her to do.
fucking fraud. Uneducated to fucking whack. What's her regret? I'm gonna teach her a lesson. Questionable fundraising tactics.
Against each other, while his goblin slash and gutter structure. He follows, scaring all the children. He follows, he follows, he follows.
First, I want to say that one of the things that frustrates me is the fact that black women get labeled angry. And the first thing is not passion. The first thing is not frustration. What I did was hold the mayor accountable for 269 days. For 269 days, I highlighted the disparities around violence in the city of Boston. For 269 days, I critiqued the fact that nothing was being done. For 269 days, I asked him to meet with me and talk to me because ultimately, regardless if we agree or disagree, if he ever called my phone, I would answer. To address the poorly talking about the mayor, so I did go live. And I used some very colorful words in regards to the mayor. It was only after a report was released where the mayor has said that if young black men want to kill themselves, let them kill themselves. I was pissed because when you talk about young black men, you talk about the 4 young black men in my house. You talk about my black husband, you talk about my black brother. And so I went live and I must have used every curse word I ever learned from the day I learned how to curse. And it came from a place of you don't get to talk about a community that you haven't adequately helped. And that was my frustration around it. You know, oftentimes I've heard the critique about me cursing. I was always told that if you curse, that means you're intelligent. So there's that. But the other piece is you know, now that I have this relationship with Marty, that's one of the first things we discussed when we met, you know? And I remember him saying to me, stop calling me motherfucker. And I was like, you got that. But I think one of the things that people think is that, you know, with the relationship we have now, that I'm gonna stop being Monica. And that's so not the case. The difference is that instead of being on social media, I have those conversations directly with him when I disagree with him, which has happened often. And the difference is, you know, I think people don't understand what activism and organizing looks like, right? So as an activist, your job is to protest. As an activist, it is to show up and protest something that is being happening to your community or someone else's community that you're an ally to, and to make sure that people are aware. And as an organizer, it's to get work done, not to defend anything that Marty may say or has said. But the relationship we have now is one of understanding, one of partnership, and working together for the betterment of the city of Boston. Do I disagree with him? Absolutely. I've sent some nice, colorful text messages. But I think one of the things that I appreciate is that he seen my heart. He could have very well said, I don't want to talk to you. You done dragged me for 269 days. Go somewhere and sit down. But his approach was, I see your passion. You do this work. Let's see how we can expand on that, in spite of the fact that you've dragged me publicly. And I think that says a lot about him as a person, because there are people who are the same color as me that I critique who will stop speaking to me for life. And this is a man he's the mayor of a city. He has one of the most powerful positions as mayor. He's one of the most powerful mayors in the country. He didn't have to talk to me. There's nothing forcing him to. What I will say is that he sees my passion for wanting to better the city of Boston. So about 10 years ago, my house was shot up. It was a crime scene. That summer, my street had been shot up about 15 times. And then not too long after that, somebody had put a gun to my son's head after I had picked him up from work one night. And I never forget the night that my door was a crime scene. The city councilor came at the time, and it was Tito Jackson. And I remember seeing him walk up the street, and I walked up to him, and I must have cursed him something fearless. And I was like, so you the city councilor, what you gonna do about what's happening out here? But whatever you do, I wanna be a part of it, because I'm gonna hold you accountable, because it's not normal for kids to live on a dead-end street in Roxbury and have their street shot up 15 times. Born and raised here in the city of Boston, grew up in Dorchester, been in Roxbury, going on 17 years now. And I knew I couldn't stop it from happening, but if I could try to slow it down or try to intervene and prevent it from happening, I started reading all the reporting around the Boston Miracle, which was a period of time during the 90s. I started talking to Harvard professors. I started reaching out to multiple different people just to gain information and background on what worked and what didn't. From there, I volunteered for Tito, and I joined everything in my community, the NAACP, the Parent Council, the Citywide Parent Council. I was at every public safety meeting in the community, tenant association meeting, you name it. I was there because I was trying to figure out the root cause as to why this was okay. I decided to run for state representative because I thought that was the way I was going to change what was happening in my neighborhood. Lost my election by 90 votes. And then in 2017, I organized a march of 45,000 people against racism, and still using this Violence in Boston hashtag, still, you know, going hard. And I encountered a woman named Zena Merchant who seen the work that I was doing, and she said, you know, you shouldn't have to struggle to try to give back to your community. You should become a nonprofit. And I said to her, I can't be a nonprofit. I can't afford to be a nonprofit. And she paid for me to become a nonprofit. I just was doing this work out of my house. I did Backpack 68 for the 68 hours from Friday to Monday that kids don't eat, and we started feeding BPS kids. I knew I couldn't do as much as I wanted to do around clothes, but I'm like, okay, how can I tap into making sure they get these backpacks on a direct service basis instead of having to go take a number or stand in a line somewhere. And so I was like, I'm gonna throw a block party and I'm gonna give away backpacks. I didn't know how. And shout out to Tito for connecting me to Cradles to Crayons and those that work for the city of Boston, because they dropped them off at my house. And and the other person that helped me was Andrea Sway, and I have to shout her out because she was one of the first people to give me backpacks towards my event, and I didn't have to sell her on what I was trying to do. I felt like she seen my heart, so yeah. And I just begin to help victims with the help of Tito Jackson. I remember asking him for his debit card on a number of different occasions because I couldn't afford to help the families that I was trying to help, and him saying, just go get them whatever they need and let me know. And basically inviting him in to talk to the families and so they could get the proper resources that they need while housing people on my kitchen floor, my living room floor. And I was like, whatever it takes to try to help people is what I was gonna do.
When did you work for Roco?
So I wanna say that was around 2015. And I joined that organization because their values were in line with what I was trying to do. My job, the position I had was a creative position, and it was basically twofold. It was picking young men up from prison, and I was their first point of contact when I picked them up from prison. And I started from scratch. I started with their identification, their birth certificate, their social security card, and literally they're in the car with me and we're driving to Target to get them new clothes. And then I would find them a bed in a shelter. And then we would talk about what they wanted to do as far as employment or certifications. But the goal was to get them stable. And a lot of that work started before they came home. We would go visit them when we knew that they were getting ready to come home to kind of do the prep work. And I worked for that organization for a while, and then I outgrew that organization. But it also gave me the opportunity to see where the gaps were.
Explain how you felt when you were face to face with a young man that tried to take your son's life.
Anxious, angry, hurt, upset, mixed emotions, because I realized that his household, he had disparities in his household as well. Realizing that this is another young black man who is in survival mode, but also frustrated at the fact that he tried to take my child from me, but realizing that he needed just as much help as a victim would, because before he was doing what he was doing, he was a victim and he wasn't serviced properly. And so I tried to provide him all the help that I could in that moment, and then I left and I went and sat in my car and I cried. He had a loving mom, loving parents. He had siblings that loved him. And he had it wasn't that he came from a household where his parents didn't care, which is like the cliche that we try to use when we talk about these young people. I think he just was trying to find his way, and we live in a day and age of social media, peer pressure, and survival. I think poverty played a part in it, especially living in Roxbury where, 33% below poverty level. So for me, it was just seeing them as human. So there's some that love me, and there's some that hate me. Most of the people that love me have actually taken the time to get to know me. Most of the people who dislike me have an assumption about who I am, or they are basing their feelings off of what somebody told them or something that they heard. Very rarely do I encounter people that actually call me, pick up the phone, have a conversation with me. Even when they disagree with me, very rarely do people actually talk to me directly. They send other people, or they take joy in just talking about me without talking to me. When I first started this work, I was in a previous marriage, and so he thought I was a little crazy. He's like, you're always trying to help somebody. My current husband, though, he's like all for it. I think I've trained my kids to be activists and give back, and to see the human in people and see that when people need, they should help them. I think for my kids, it was just confirmation, because they used to bring their friends home all the time and be like, well, mommy, my friend can't go to their house, can they come here and eat? Or I got a friend that they can't talk to their parent, can they talk to you? And so for me, it was expanding on that and kind of building community in a way where if I'm taking care of them, then I know that my kids are safe and okay.
How long have you been running Balance in Boston out of your kitchen?
Whew, 10 years. I've had whole families show up with trash bags.
How many families would you say?
That I've helped? Too many to count. Too many to count. Because this is the thing. Most of us, you encounter a young person, you try to help a young person, but the part we ignore is that that young person is attached to a family. So if you help that young person with a job, but you don't take into consideration that the mom may need food, bills may not be paid, they may need help with, rental assistance, we miss out. And so my help has looked different on multiple levels, from helping young people to whole families. I never forget when I was at Roka, I started bringing young men home. And it was to prevent them from breaking into somewhere to sleep at night, but also prevent them from stealing or anything like that. So letting them sleep at my house and feeding them to make sure that they were on time for work the next day at Roka. I've had whole families come to my house with trash bags, and I had to figure it out. And I've done grassroots fundraising in an inbox, not even public, for all the things that people see on Facebook. Is so much they don't see. And I literally organized the hotel accommodations for them in the inbox and placed them in a hotel. And I've done that for at least 20 families. And then I've been called to hospitals where young men just got shot, hospital releasing them with no plan and nowhere to go. And I've had the Nation of Islam help me place people in hotels. Like, my activism knows no limits. I feel like I function from a space of by any means necessary with the help that I provide for my community.
What do you have to say to those who are against you?
Call me. Most of the people are against me, I think, function from a space of feeling left out and forgotten about. There may be those that genuinely hate me, and that's cool too. But I think a lot of the people that critique me and don't like me feel left out and forgotten about. And I think that they function from a space of information they've been told by somebody else. Because not near one of them have actually picked up the phone to call me and have a conversation with me or ask me anything. It's based off of assumptions. But some of those people I've actually helped, So there's that. I just, it's hard for me to hate anybody. Dislike you? Hell yeah, I'm human, right?
But hate is strong. Because if any one of those people asked me for help, I would help them. I wouldn't chill with you. We wouldn't go to the club, but I would help you. And so I really wish people get to the point where they understand that, like, we don't all got to do the same thing. But if we all shooting for the same goal, then we still win. And if you're mad, grab a cape so you could be super mad. My new motto for 2020 is not arguing with people that Harriet Tubman would have shot. That's it.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow.
How many of these faces have I taken a photo of, or how many of these faces have I transported, or how many faces of these have I worked on? And, you know, it's insane. It is, you know. And yes, so many people, well, it's not as bad as Baltimore, it's not as bad as Chicago, it's not as bad as this, but when you become okay with it, that's when the problem is. It's when you are like, yo, like, this is now normal, that's when it's fucked up. That's when you know that there's an issue, is when you decide that, you know, this has become normal.
Y'all forget at the end of the day, yes, I'm an activist. Yes, I ran for state representative. No, I'm not ignorant, and no, I'm not uneducated. I just say stupid shit.
We don't respond hate with hate. We respond hate with peace.
So I would like to send a special thanks to the gangsters, the fathers, and everybody else in Boston that did not come to that event to bring any harm to that event. You two are cut from a different cloth. Because you could have. But you seen what we was trying to do. And who knows, your kids could have probably been there. Your daughters or mothers, fathers could have probably been there. So you chose to be a man. And see, that's what I'm saying. It's gonna have to take for us to be men. If we have to put our children in the middle of it, for us to be men, to be like, all right, you know what, I'm not gonna hurt you. And you're not gonna hurt me. If that's what it takes for us to do, then I'm willing to do it. Will you do it?
None of you would be here in this room if it wasn't for her. So Monica is an organizer. She is a passionate, skilled community advocate.
Ignoring a problem has never made it go away, and we don't plan to ignore it, and we plan to send a really strong message that not in the city of Boston. You don't get to come here and do that. Unless you're willing to go in between the Hennessy and the weed smoke on the block and talk to these young people because they are our kids, stop talking to me.
I'll be you. Okay. And you said, man, have you heard what the president has said in the past? Yeah.
All right, so you're gonna be me, and I'm gonna be the person critiquing you.
Right.
All right.
Go ahead.
You ain't really doing no work in this community. You taking people's money. You ain't doing nothing. You starting this organization, but it's all fraudulent. Who do you think you are? Where did you come from? How did you show up here?
Well, you know, I could have been your daddy, but your mother. I'm sorry. I got it in character. I was like, oh, why you?
Where does one get? Where does one get a beautiful red hand? So I normally don't let big hands touch on my booty, but this one, this one time, my brother, I'm gonna let it. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Thief ain't helping no one. Bloodsucker. She's not licensed to do this work. No degree. She's not educated, and she's too fucking fragile.